Well, you can start unloading your bags, Larry, dear. I think I'll have a look at your room.
All right, Mother.
Oh, try not to wrinkle your new jacket.
Say, honey, are you my new roommate? I mean, if you are, then go right ahead. Make yourself at home. But if you're not, I wish you'd quit messing with my stuff.
I was just straightening up a bit. Apparently, you're in the process of moving out. You see, this will be my son's room.
No. You've got it all wrong. This is my room, and I love it just the way it is. Now, if my freshman roomie doesn't like it, he'll have to get himself a sleeping bag.
Oh?
Lucky this didn't break. It's a keepsake. A fine old family heirloom.
An empty whiskey bottle is probably the most valuable possession in your family. Take your bags back to the car, Larry, dear. We're going to see the dean and get you a decent room.
Sorry. My mother's a little difficult at times.
Forget it. Mothers are professionally difficult. Now you may as well drop that stuff.
But my mother said...
Look, you'll either be in here or some room close by. Why pack all that junk out again? Nice, huh?
I'm glad of this chance to meet you, Mrs. Franklin. What seems to be the problem?
Well, it's quite a simple problem, really. My son, Larry, needs a more suitable room in which to live and study.
I see. Well, now. Sit down, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, sir.
You've been assigned to room 4 in Dickinson Hall with Mark Selby.
And are you familiar with Mr. Selby?
Well, I know a little about him. He's not exactly a great scholar. But he does passing work. He's very active in various groups.
Well, I was referring more to his... Well, I'm sure that you're not aware the walls of his room are covered with lewd pictures.
Lewd?
Pictures of young women practically undressed.
Well, your use of the word practically does make a difference, Mrs. Franklin. It's my guess that Selby's room isn't too different from the other dormitory rooms. You know, young men do have a natural interest in the female figure.
Surely you don't defend their vulgarity.
Well, not their taste in art, certainly. But I do defend their right to be curious about women.
Mother, can't we forget about it?
Mr. Selby gave me the impression that drinking was not only tolerated but encouraged here.
Drinking in dormitories is prohibited by the college regulations, Mrs. Franklin. Was Mark Selby drunk when you met him?
Not at that moment, no.
Nor has he ever been reported as drunk. Drinking is a custom condoned in our adult society, Mrs. Franklin. As young men reach the adult age, most of them do experiment with it. We deal with obvious offenders, but we don't maintain a spy system.
I'm sure you have to be tolerant in dealing with such types as Mark Selby. All that concerns me is that he is obviously not a suitable roommate for my son. This discussion can be ended simply by giving Larry a private room.
I'm sorry, but that's not possible. We have no private rooms available for undergraduates. The best thing I can do is to suggest that you accept this present assignment, and if you don't get along with Selby, maybe we can arrange to make a transfer later.
Dean Baker.
It'll be all right, Mother. Let's give it a try.
Very well, dear, if that's what you really want. However, I do think Larry should reserve the right to change...
Mrs. Franklin, I think it'd be a good idea if you met Larry's faculty advisor. If you'd come with me, Larry, perhaps he can convince you we do have Larry's interest at heart.
As soon as I signed up for your course, I decided to come and explain to you about what happened last semester.
Yes, I notice you're repeating freshman composition. You had Dr. Compton last semester. Clash of personalities?
Oh, no, it wasn't that.
Oh, well, that's the excuse I hear most frequently.
Well, I'm not making excuses, really. I flunked the course, and I deserved to. I simply got involved in too many outside activities. But I wanted you to know that it wasn't because of a lack of interest in English. Well, I'm sure I'll do better in your class.
You'll be judged on your work, Miss Walton, not your record.
Oh, well, that's all I ask. Thank you, Professor
Excuse
Howe.
me, Joe. Excuse us, please. Mrs. Franklin, this is Professor Joseph Howe, Mrs. Isabel Franklin, and her son.
Larry.
Larry.
Mrs. Franklin? Larry?
Mrs. Franklin has a few doubts I think you can help her resolve, Joe. At least I'm sure you'll try. If you'll excuse me. Very nice to have met you.
Larry, dear, why don't you go back to the dormitory and start to unpack? I don't want to embarrass Larry by extolling his virtues in front of him.
All right, Mother.
Professor Howe, I know your time is valuable, so I'll be brief. Larry is my only son, my only child. Frankly, I'm not fully convinced that Channing is a proper environment for him.
Well, what do you find wrong with Channing?
For one thing, it's coeducational. And girls, especially the type we saw as we came in here, tend to be distracting. Larry's a sensitive boy. He's always been rather shy and scholarly. You'll find he's a brilliant student.
Well, any teacher welcomes a bright student. Why are you so worried about him?
Well, he's not accustomed to being away from home. He may find it difficult to adjust here.
I presume you and Larry chose Channing.
I had and have reservations.
Well, I'll do everything possible to help Larry overcome them. Mrs. Franklin? I figure my classroom is something like a casino. We're there to gamble with our opinion, even if they don't hit all the time.
You know, it's funny, but before I was through speaking, I suddenly thought of an exception to the rule I was making.
That's the trouble with theories. People refuse to fit in. Now, have you considered the possibility that Tolstoy's lack of style may be the greatest style of all?
Professor Howe. Thank you.
Oh, okay, fellas. Maybe I'll catch you at Manny's. Or maybe you'll catch me. Larry, I just wanted to tell you, I thought what you said in class today was exactly right. I think Tolstoy is the greatest.
Oh, you do? Have you ever read his Death of Ivan Ilyich?
But a long while ago. I don't recall it too clearly. Larry, I don't mean to change the subject, but I was wondering, I had a missed class Monday.
Yes, I know.
I'm glad you missed me. But I really couldn't help it. There was a meeting of the football rally committee. Well, I sort of feel kind of lost in this business of style and meaning.
Oh, well, it's not really too difficult. I could explain it.
I wish we had time to talk about it. But I have to attend a sorority tea. So could you lend me your notes for Monday?
Oh, sure.
Oh, I could have borrowed Bill Hansen's notes, but I know yours are a lot better.
Here you are.
Thanks. I'll give them back to you Friday before class. Bye now.
Well, so anyway, I said to her, if that's the way you feel about it, honey, maybe we'd better not see each other anymore. What do you think she did then?
What?
She starts to cry. All over me.
Yeah? Well, so what did you do then?
Well, what do you think I did?
Huh.
I told her that tears stained my suit and she'd just better laugh it up a little. You know something, Ron? She wound up grateful.
Grateful? How about that? Hey, how did you make out with that blonde chick? You know, what's her name?
Would you mind shutting up for a while?
I mean, if you have to talk, can't you talk about something other than girls?
Is there anything else? Didn't your daddy tell you the facts of life, Larry, dear?
My father died when I was very young.
Ah, now that explains a few things. I read all about you in Psych 1A. But never fear, Larry, dear. I shall be your father figure. Son, it's about time that you knew the only babies delivered by storks are baby storks.
I've suspected that for quite some time.
Well, I'm here to spell out the other difference between birds and chicks. Now, old Ron here digs the fluttering kind. A batted eyelash and he's goofed for a week, right, Ron?
Well, I'm easily swayed, yeah.
How about you, Larry? Have you ever had a date with a girl? I mean, a real live girl?
My mother's health hasn't been too good. She gets nervous when she's left alone at night.
Yeah, I could see your mother was just a bundle of nerves.
Look, you don't have to make fun of her. She's always done very well by me. Saw that I went to good private schools.
Oh, boys, I'll bet. And I'll bet Mama saw that you got to meet all the nice little girls, too. Tea and crumpets on Saturday afternoon with some old hatchet face counting the inches and the rhythm between.
May I have this next minuet, miss?
Certainly. You know, Larry, you're not really such a bad guy, but you're just a little retarded. And I'm going to catch you up. Now, at 9 o'clock, Ron and Gordy and I are going out for a little entertainment. And you're going with us. Right, Ron? Right.
But I'm not through studying yet. I've got
Then
a lot of...
get through. By 9. This is a sophomore talking, freshman. Larry, you came here for a liberal education, didn't you? Well, okay. Then we're going to liberalize you. You like that, huh? I knew you were human.
You better drink your beer, Larry. It'll cool you off.
Hey, how come you're so pink, man? Sunburn?
Think I'll get me a shot. I never could get off the ground in just beer.
Hi, sweetie. How is the big man off campus?
Got a little job for you, Margot. No, don't look at me like that. This is purely Florence Nightingale stuff. You see that kid sitting in the booth over there? The young-looking one with Ron and Gordy?
What about him?
Save his life, will you? You know, just get a few drinks down him. Dance him around a little bit. And, show him a good time. I'm trying to help the kid grow up.
Gee, you're all heart.
I think Mark wants to see you at the bar for a minute.
Hmm? Oh, yeah. Hey, Larry, save our seats for us, huh?
Mind if I sit down, Larry?
No, but I think it's a mistake.
Aren't you, Larry? My name is Margot. It's my job to make people feel at home here.
Oh, I'm doing all right.
Sure you are. Together we'll do even better. Well, drink up. It's on me.
What is it?
Gimlet. Full of lime juice. Vitamin C. Very good for scurvy.
Look, you don't have to entertain me. I mean, I much rather...
It's all right. You can look at me, hon. It's free. Would you like to dance with me? Something slow and easy?
I don't know how.
Nothing to it. I'll teach you.
I'm sure they'd find that very funny. Look, I'm not a fool, you know. I know you've been paid to give them a big laugh.
I'll tell you what, Larry. Let's pull a switch on them. There is a little dance pavilion out back, nice and quiet. Let's meet there, where they can't see us. I'll go to the powder room and slip out the back door. See? Put your hand around my waist and just let your feet follow mine. You can hold me tighter, I won't break. You know, you're really a sweet kid. It's all right, Larry. Just relax and enjoy yourself.
I don't understand, Professor Howe. If my paper is all right, why do you want to talk to me?
The actual writing is excellent, deserving of an A. But there are some illogical elements in your essay. Unless I misunderstand your intention.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, in discussing Hawthorne's novel, The Scarlet Letter, you say it would be a good idea if we still follow the old custom of making immoral women wear a scarlet A for adultery.
That's right.
I'm not much good at predicting women's fashions, but I doubt that the Scarlet A could ever come back.
I meant what I said in my essay.
All right. I'll read it over again and try to arrive at a grade. Something been bothering you in the last week or so?
Why do you ask?
You seemed unusually quiet in my class.
Oh, I've had a lot of things to think about.
Care to talk it over?
I appreciate your interest in me, Professor Howe, but I think I can work out my own problems.
I might arrange a room exchange for you if that's a trouble. Is it Mark Selby?
He's all right. a little single-minded on the subject of women, but I guess I'll have to get used to that sort of person. There seem to be quite a few of them.
Drop in anytime you want someone to talk with. And I'll try not to cover the same ground as Mark Selby.
Thank you, sir.
Larry?
Thank you. Is that Franklin boy, the one whose mother was so demanding?
Mm-hmm.
How's he doing?
He's one of my brightest students. But lately he seems very tense and tied up. I think he may be having girl trouble.
Any particular girl?
I'm not sure. But I've seen him gazing fondly at Lynn Walton.
Nothing wrong with his eyesight.
No, but she's a little out of Larry's class. Maybe he's suffering from unrequited love.
Well, that brings me indirectly to the reason for my visit. Would you consider, as a connoisseur of campus beauty, would you consider serving on the judging panel for the homecoming queen at no increase in salary?
You talked me into it.
Tough job. I thought I could manage, Joe.
Larry? Can I talk to you for a moment?
Sure.
I hate to impose on you, but I know you're the only one who can help me.
Oh, I'd be glad to try.
I just don't know how to get started on that next paper for house class.
You mean the one on modern science in the novel?
It seems like too big a subject. I don't know where to begin or what to say.
Why don't you write about the beginning of the scientific novel? H.G. Wells, that could be interesting and not too difficult.
Hey, that's a great idea. I will. I'll have to do an awful lot of research, though.
Could you, I could meet you at the library tonight, help you pick out the right books. Maybe even work out an outline for your essay.
That would be wonderful. Gee, you're very sweet. Oh, gee, I forgot. There's a drama club meeting tonight.
Oh. Maybe tomorrow.
But if I don't get the research done tonight, I won't have time to get the paper written by Monday.
Well, I could do the research for you.
Oh, no, Larry.
No, it wouldn't take me too long, and I could have the material ready for you tomorrow.
Oh, I'd be grateful forever. I'll have to think of something especially nice to do for you.
You could spend some time with me sometime. Just talk.
Well, sometime soon. We'll get together and figure out a special occasion.
Okay. When would you...
Listen, I gotta go. I'll see you tomorrow.
Larry the Scholarly Hermit. Step right up and see him, folks. Is he a man or is he a machine? Yes, sirree. Larry the Social Leper. Doesn't like girls and doesn't like them that do.
I don't like your kind of girls, that's true.
If you mean poor old Margot, you're a little off the track. She's not a bad sort. Boy, you must have flipped taking a swing at her. She was trying to help you.
I don't want anything to do with the kind of trash you take out.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I've got a little something lined up for tonight, and she's not trashed by any means.
Yes, I can imagine. It's a little late, isn't it?
I specialize in late dates. Early hours are a bore anyway. No kidding, this chick is really gorgeous. Lynn Walton, you know her?
I've seen her.
Not with my eyes, you haven't, buddy. Not with my eyes. That could be habit forming the way you do that.
Not for me. I can quit any time.
Are you sure? Relax, honey.
I said I could quit any time, and I just quit.
You know, you ought to carry around a pail of ice water. Then I'd be sure to get the message.
Oh, don't get all peeved. I like you, Mark. Just don't want you calling all the shots.
You know, we're a lot alike, you and me. We're both used to getting what we want.
Really? And now what does that mean?
Well, there must be something you want. Some favor I could arrange for you. I have a certain amount of influence on campus, you know.
A very big man on student council, I know.
We make nominations for homecoming queen next meeting. You'd be a natural for the sophomore candidate.
Funny, the very same thought had occurred to me.
What are you doing for the homecoming dance?
Well, I've been asked to go with the junior class president, but I haven't said yes.
Well, I haven't made a date yet. I'm waiting to see who'll be elected queen.
Well, why don't you ask me after I'm nominated?
We might come to some sort of an agreement after all.
Oh, who knows? After all, there's plenty of time. But for tonight, I better be getting back to the house. Oh, darn, I just snagged my nylons. My best pair. That makes me mad.
Don't panic. I'll buy you a new pair.
Oh, gee, a big spender.
Well, it's a pleasure to buy stockings for legs like that. Peel them off. Well, I have to match them for size and color, don't I?
It's a deal. I'll take them off after you start driving.
Good. I'll check with you later, then. All right, thank you, Doctor. Goodbye. Well, the x-rays show no fracture. He does have a mild concussion, but that's the extent of the injury, and he ought to be out of the infirmary in a couple of days. So, what's your view of the matter, Chief?
Well, my guess is attempted robbery. It's the only logical answer. Whoever did the slugging must have been scared off by the boys who drove in and found something.
Did they see anyone leaving?
Not a soul.
Did he have any idea who might have attacked him, assuming it wasn't attempted robbery?
Well, he says the only enemies he's made have been girls. But he doesn't think any of them hate him that bad.
Well, we want as little publicity about this as possible, of course, and we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Have you checked with the town police?
I got Captain Collins to assign a full-time patrol car to cruise the limits of the campus at night. And we'll double up on our foot patrol until we get this thing cleared up.
All right, ma'am. Let me know if you turn up anything.
I'm still arguing with you, Larry.
But, Mother, don't you see that? Come in. Sorry to interrupt. Mrs. Franklin? I came by to pick up some of Mark's books to take back to the infirmary for him. Oh, they're over there. How is he? Oh, he's recovering nicely. Just a mild concussion.
Have they found out who's responsible?
Oh, not yet.
This sort of thing is very upsetting. Who knows who the next victim might be?
I assure you, we don't want anyone to be the next victim. We're taking steps to see that it doesn't happen again, Mrs. Franklin.
Professor Howe, my mother wishes me to withdraw from school. She wants me to leave today.
That would mean wasting most of a semester's work.
Well, I don't see how you're involved in this decision.
Well, Larry is my advisee and one of my best students. I'd be sorry to lose him. Now, do you really think this campus is such a dangerous place, Mrs. Franklin?
I have another reason for wanting Larry out of here. It's an insult to have my son called in and questioned by the police like a common criminal.
But that shouldn't offend you. Larry was questioned because as Mark's roommate, he might have known something that would help us. And no one has accused Larry of anything.
Larry, dear, I'm sorry our little talk has degenerated into a public discussion. You know, I'm only trying to do what's best for you.
I understand that, Mother.
I tell you frankly, I think it's a mistake for you to remain here. However, the decision must be yours.
I want to finish the semester. I want to stay.
You disappoint my trust in your judgment, Larry. You may phone me anytime you change your mind.
Be patient with her, Larry. It's hard for mothers to grow up, too.
Professor Howe, may I speak with you?
That's why I hold office hours. Come on in, Miss Walton. Sit down.
I know I haven't been doing too well in your class. Well, not as well as I had expected.
Nor as well as I had hoped. I just finished reading your last paper.
Well, I was hoping for more than a D. I worked so hard.
Well, you had the beginning of a very fine essay. And there were some interesting opinions about H.G. Wells as a father of the scientific novel. And some good research to prove your points.
Well, then why the D?
Well, because the paper was hastily and carelessly written. Apparently, you spent too much time on the research and had none left for the writing.
Well, in a way, that's what happened.
Well, you were allowed plenty of time to complete the assignment. Unless you have some kind of special problem.
Well, that's why I came to see you today. Because I do have a special problem. And I need more time on the long-term paper you assign.
I'm listening.
I just have too much to do. I'm secretary of the drama club, and I have the lead in the play we're doing. I'm a social chairman for the sorority, and on top of everything else, I was just nominated for homecoming queen. And that means I'll have to attend a number of meetings and ceremonies.
All the tedious responsibilities of royalty,
Please, Professor Howe, I need an extra 2 weeks. I'm sure I can do a good job if you'll just give me the time.
Miss Walton, I'm not unaware of your charms. But I'm hopeful that you also have a good mind. In any case, I'm determined to make you use that mind. Now, try to understand this. You are very close to failing this course. Your midterm paper could make the difference either way. Better hand it in on time.
I think there are quite a few things you don't understand.
There are many things I don't understand, but you are not one of them.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Still mad at me?
I never was.
Well, how come you haven't spoken to me lately?
Well, I've had a lot of things on my mind.
You haven't forgotten our date.
I didn't think you really wanted to go out with me.
Oh, don't be silly. It's just I haven't had a free moment. But I find I'm not doing a thing tonight. How about you?
You want to go to a movie?
Oh, I'd love to, but... I'm afraid I'm really in the jam again with Hal.
What's the trouble?
Well, I asked him for an extra 2 weeks on the term paper, but he said no. And if I don't get any help, I'm going to flunk the course.
How much of a date if we just work on your term paper?
We wouldn't have to work all evening. I would want to do that.
Do you want me to meet you at the library?
I got a better idea. Why don't we go to my parents' house? It's just across town. We'd have it quiet there to work, and later we can play records and talk.
Won't your folks mind?
Well, they're off in Europe. We'll be all alone.
Say, Larry, is any of that hair growing in yet?
It's growing in fine. Does it hurt where they took the stitches out?
Only when I think.
Say, Mark? There's something I've got to talk to you about.
Sure, kid, anytime. That's what old Uncle Mark's here for.
Well, it's about, well, it's just that... What's all this?
Offhand, I'd say it was a pair of nylons. The things girls wear on their legs. Girls do have legs, you know, in case you haven't noticed.
Suppose you thought it was very funny to put them in my pockets.
Well, actually, Larry, slipped my mind that they were there. You see, I started catching up in my social life last night, and I borrowed your coat. You were slaving away in the library as usual, and I figured you wouldn't mind helping an old roommate with such a worthwhile project. Larry, you sure you don't want them? As sort of a keepsake? You see, I saw you with the girl who owns them. Just this afternoon on campus.
I don't know who you mean.
Lynn Walton? A swinging gal. But kind of careless about where she leaves her clothes.
Everything's been quiet since, so Parsons feels he can ease off with a double patrol. What do you think, Joe?
I'd like to play Watson to your Sherlock Holmes, Fred, but the criminology's a little out of my line. Larry?
Well, what's wrong with him?
I wish I knew. You know, his work and class behavior's been a little erratic lately.
At any rate, you seem to have underestimated his romantic capabilities.
The boy seems disturbed to me, Fred. Especially since his mother tried to make him withdraw from school.
Do you suppose his roommate would have any idea what's bothering him?
Well, they're not exactly close friends, but it's worth a try.
Good night, Joe.
Night.
Larry's not really a bad guy at all. He's just a spook about girls.
I should think you could cure him of that.
Well, I do all I can. But he acts scared to death of them. I don't know. He's plenty interested, though, even if he won't let on. Sometimes I'll come into the room and I'll catch him looking at my pinups. I mean, so who cares, you know? But he acts as though he just got caught in the cookie jar.
Has he ever talked about any girls he likes?
Oh, yeah? Let's see now. There was Joan of Arc and Queen Victoria and Mona Lisa. And then that real weird chick, Lucretia Borgia.
Hmm.
Welcome to Walton Castle.
It's a big house.
Too big for little Lynn. That's why I'm staying at the sorority. Make yourself at home. We can even have a little fire to take the chill off. You like music?
Some kind.
My father has quite a collection. He never listens, but he hates empty shelves. Pick out something. How about a little something to drink?
I don't care.
Now, listen, Professor, the only time he's been close enough to touch a real girl, he flipped his wig.
Tell me about it.
Well, you gotta understand, we were only trying to help him. Maybe have a few laughs out of it, too, but just trying to let him know that girls are human. Well, anyway, Ron and Gordy and I took him down to Belden Roadhouse. And there's this girl that works there, Margot.
about time we really got to know each other.
You sure Larry actually hit the girl?
I tell you, we all saw her right after he ran off. That guy hates girls.
Well, not all girls.
He even hates to be reminded of girls. Listen, I had a pair of nylon stockings that a girl snagged in my car. Well, so tonight, just for a gag, I slipped them into Larry's pocket. You know, he acted like an old lady who just grabbed a snake.
What was the point of that joke?
I don't know. Except a guy like that's asking to be needled. Listen, he does plenty of things that bug me.
But you didn't explain to him how you really got the stockings, right?
Come on, Professor, that would have stepped in the gag.
Well, whose stockings were they? Well, whose?
Lynn Walton's.
You knew that Lynn and Larry have a class together.
No. First time I saw them together was on campus today.
Well, wasn't it after a date with Lynn that your head was split open?
Yeah, but it was after I had left her and came back. You don't think that Larry... Oh, no, Professor, he wouldn't have the guts.
Did Larry know you were out with Lynn that night?
Yeah, I told him.
How'd he react?
Not much. So I just walked out and left him slaving over H.G. Wells.
Now, level with me, Mark. Did you tell Larry those were Lynn's stockings tonight?
I was going to tell him it was all a joke, Professor. No kidding, but he took off like a hornet at stomach.
Hi, Officer Hardy. Is Lynn Walton there, please? This is Professor Howe. It's important that I speak to her. Yes, I'll wait. What's that? Is she dead? Will you check the sign-out book for me, please? I've got to locate her.
Larry, about my term paper. I really hate to ask you, but there's no way out. Could you write it for me? I mean, you write so easily and so well. It's such a hard struggle for me. If you write it for me, I'll make it up to you somehow.
Are these your stockings?
I don't know. Why?
Mark Selby says they are.
Mark? Oh, well, then they're the ones I snagged in his car. But he was going... Hey, now, wait a minute, Larry. If Mark implied anything, he's lying. He's mad because I...
You've been making a fool of me, Lynn. Out playing around with Mark while I did your studies.
Oh, Larry, that's not true.
I tried to believe you were a nice girl. I blamed the Mark. I almost killed him. But it wasn't his fault at all. I wanted to worship you. I wanted to respect you. I wanted to worship you.
cannot believe it. And if one word of this accusation is true, you both deserve to be behind bars. I gave you a fine, decent, sensitive boy, and in less than 4 months, you turn him into some sort of monster.
Mrs. Franklin, I've just talked to Dr. Janiff. Larry's problems are not recent. His present breakdown is the result of tensions that have been developing for several years.
My son is a good boy. He would never think.
Larry is a young man, and young men inevitably think of a great many things, including young women. There's nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, Larry thought it very wrong.
I've devoted my life to my son. I've taught him a very strict regard for morality.
You've taught him total disregard for his own emotions. You've taught him to hate himself for thoughts that are quite natural.
I refuse to continue this absurd discussion. I demand to see my son. I'm going to take him out of here.
He won't see you.
He won't see me.
I was with him for several hours last night, Mrs. Franklin. At one point, he said, at least in the sanitarium, I'll get away from her.
I'm sure that's not true.
You know it is. You know that's why Larry insisted on coming to Channing and remaining here in spite of your protests. He wants to grow up, and you won't let him.
He's still so young.
You force him to be that way. You say you've devoted your life to him, but you expect his life to be devoted to you. You made an emotional cripple of Larry long before he ever came here. The handicap was too much for him. All he could salvage from the wreckage was that at last he'd escaped from you.
Can't all be my fault. Can't.
Of course it's not. The girl's partly to blame, so's Larry's roommate.
What will happen to Larry?
The Walton girl has decided it's to her advantage not to press charges. Dr. Janiff tells me that if Larry is hospitalized and has psychiatric care, his chances of full recovery are good, provided he can develop a new and mature attitude toward you. Otherwise, he may go on alternating between complete dependency and violent rebellion.
Do you think you could get him to see me for just a little while?
Are you sure you want that?
I want to help him. I want to help.
All right. Let's try.